Analysis 2016 Internet Access. This is a group of 8 questions based on the data sheet, and some of them are quite challenging. Let's work our way through. So the first one says, do a calculation to show that the number of adults who use the internet daily in 2007 represented about 45% of the adult population. Now, to do this, the first thing we need to do is to find how many adults there were in 2007. So we don't just need those who did it, use the internet daily. We need all the adults that were around in 2007. Now, if we do that, we can find the total population is 20.7 plus 7.3 plus 3 plus 15.3, all in millions. So it's 46.3 million. Now, out of those, the 20.7 that's there, they're the ones, 20.7 million, who used the internet daily. So as a percentage, it's 20.7 out of 46.3. So it's 20.7 divided by the 46.3, and then to turn this into a percentage, multiply by 100%. It comes to 44.7%, which is, to the nearest whole number, 45%. Now the next question looks very similar. It's looking at 2009. Those who use the internet did so less than weekly. So we need the less than weekly one in 2009. So that's that 2.5. But it's not a percentage of the whole population, it's a percentage of those who use the internet. So this time, instead of actually looking at the entire population, all I need to do is look at those who used the internet, those who used the internet in the last 3 months. I don't want that figure there. They're the people who didn't use the internet. So this total in 2009 comes to 26.6, 7.3 and 2.5, that's 36.4. And of those, 2.5 million were those who used the internet less than weekly. So our percentage this time is 2.5 over 36.4, multiply it by 100%, and I want my answer to 3 significant figures. If they don't say the number of significant figures, I will always give it to 3 significant figures, so it's going to be 6.87%. Don't round it off any more than that. Next question. Find the percentage increase in the number of adults who use the internet daily between 2008 and 2011. Now, you may be tempted to just look at the percentages for 2008 and 2011 and say, well, what's the increase there at 15%? But those percentages are worked out on the total populations. That's not how you find the percentage increase. To find a percentage increase, you need to look at the actual figures. You need to look at the 23 million who use the internet daily in 2008 and the 31.4 million who used it in 2011. And you'll find if a percentage increase from 23 million to 31.4 million, so if they ignore those percentages. The increase from 23 million to 34 million, okay, and we need to find that percentage increase. So you take the 31.4, you subtract the 23, and we divide by the earlier of the 2 figures. It doesn't matter which is bigger, the earlier. The earlier one is a 23. And then multiply by 100% as normal, and it comes to 36.5%. Now you'll notice here I put these numbers on the top line in brackets. They don't need to be in brackets because everything over that line, you do that subtraction before you do the division. But if I put them in brackets, it will remind me that when I type it into the calculator to do the subtraction before dividing by the 23. Right, our next question. Describe the trend in the number of adults who used the internet less than weekly from 2006 to 2013. So let's look at less than weekly from 2006 to 2013, and let's look at the number of adults. Now, very quickly you can see that what's happening here is it goes down, and then it bounces around a bit. It was 1.7 million, it's gone up to 2.2 million, then down, then up again. But if you're looking at a trend, you don't need to describe what's happening at each stage. You just look at the overall trend. The overall trend is from 3.7 million down to 1.6 million. The trend is going down. So all you need to say is the trend is decreasing. The next question. How many adults use the internet at least once a week in 2014? Well, at least once a week, find our figure, 8%. Obviously, we're going to be using that 43 million there, but that 43 million is those who accessed the internet. The 8% needs to be worked out on the entire population. That is 8% of the entire population, not 8% of the 43 million. Now, to find the entire population, what we need to do is we need to find how this 43 million fits in with our percentages. Now, one way to do it would be to say, well, let's look at the percentages here who are using the internet. 76%, add 8%, that's 84%, add 2 is 86%. If you notice, when you add on the 13, that comes to 99%. Now that's all to do with rounding. There have been some numbers, more numbers rounded down than rounded up. Now because we've got 3 numbers being rounded here, and only 1 number being rounded to the 13%, then the 13% is the more accurate one to use. So that would have had less effect from rounding errors, or it's likely to have had less effect. And so, when I want to find the percentage of adults who access the internet, what I will do is, instead of doing 76, add 8, add 2, and get 86%, I'm going to do 100 take away 13. It comes very similar, it's coming to 87%. But that's likely to be just a little bit more accurate. So 87% of the adult population equals 43 million. So the total adult population, well, I need to divide that 43 million by 87%, but I want to turn that into a decimal, so 43 million, 87% is 0.87, so I divide it by 0.87, and notice the figure's going to increase, it comes to 49.4 million. Now, the number using the internet at least once a week is not 8% of the 43 million, it's 8% of this figure here. So it's 8% of 49.4 million, and that is equal to 3.95 million. Next question. The number of adults who access the internet is expected to grow by 3.6% each year from 2014 to 2017. And we've got to say how many we expect to be using the internet in 2017. Well, the number accessing the internet in 2014 is that 43 million. And it's growing, it's increasing by 3.6%. Now, when that happens, and particularly if it's happening over more than 1 year, then you need to use a multiplier. So multiplier, start with 100%, it is growing, it is increasing by 3.6%, so it's 100% plus 3.6%, 103.6%. Turn it into a decimal, that means divided by 100, 1.036. That's our multiplier. But it's not just for 1 year, 2014 to 2017 is for 3 years. So we want to do our 43 million, the number that were there in 2014, the number accessing the internet in 2014, and we want to multiply it by 1.036 for the first year, then multiply it by the 1.036 again for the second year, and then a third time for the third year. And the quick way to do that is you multiply it by 1.036 cubed because it was 3 years. And that comes to 47.8 million. So that's the number that it's estimated would be accessing the internet in 2017. Question 7. Between 2005 and 2006, the number of adults who did not use the internet fell by 16%. And then we need to find the number in 2005. So we're working backwards. Instead of being told 2005 going forward to 2006, we go 2006 back 2005, and it's the number not using the internet. So there's our 18.5 million. Now, when you're doing this, again, it's multiplier. Start with 100%, but notice it is falling by 16%. It's going down by 16%. 100% minus 16% is 84%. As a decimal, divide by 100, 0.84. Now, the next thing, we need to be really careful now. If we were told the number in 2005, and you wanted the number in 2006, you would multiply by your multiplier. So if we are told this number, you would multiply by 0.84 to get your 18.5 million. But we're working backwards. We're told the number in 2006, and we want the number a year earlier in 2005 if we went a year earlier than that. So because you're working backwards, instead of multiplying by 0.84, we just divide by 0.84. So 18.5 million divided by 0.84 is 22 million. It says give the answer to the nearest million, so you'll notice I've rounded it to 22 million. Right, question 8, the last question. This is quite a tricky one. It's an explanation as to why it is that if we look at 2006 and 2012, and we look at the number of people using the internet daily, we find that between those 2 years, 2006 and 2012, that the number using it daily more than doubled. Because if you double 16.2, you get 32.4, and 33.2 is a bit more than that, so it's more than doubled. But if instead I look at the percentages, do you see the percentages, 35%, 68%, it's gone up a lot, but it hasn't quite doubled. And so why is this? You might expect that if that more than doubles, this would more than double. Well, the reason is that they're based on different totals. These percentages are the percentages of the total population. So in order to do a proper comparison, you need to not be comparing just the percentages, but look at the total population. And if we can look at the population in the 2 years, then we will find that they're not quite the same. So in the first year, the 2006 adult population, 16.2, 7.4, 3.7, 18.5 million, came to 45.8 million. But in 2012, it was 33.2, 5.3, 1.5 and 8.8 million. That comes to 48.8 million. It's more. And so when you're working out the percentages, the 33.2 million who used it daily in 2012 is worked out on a higher population. And because it's worked out on a higher population, you get a bit smaller percentage than you would have expected. So that's why that one more than doubles, but the percentage doesn't quite double, is because it's being worked out, that second percentage, on a higher population. Okay, good luck in your exams.